Before we are even born, before we take our first breath, we are already absorbing the world. The mother's heartbeat, the tension in her voice, the anxiety in her silence. They seep into the forming child like invisible ink. This is the first inheritance, not money, not legacy, but atmosphere. The womb becomes a mirror of the world outside. If it trembles, so will we. If it suffocates in fear, we will learn fear before we even know language. What we inherit before birth is not chosen, it is given, and sometimes it is already broken. Fear has no words in the womb. It lives in vibrations, in chemical storms, in the rhythms of the mother's breath. If she is afraid, the child feels it, not as a thought, but as a trembling world. Fear becomes a lullaby sung without melody, a rhythm carved into fragile flesh. Later, as adults, we wonder why we are anxious even in safe places, why silence feels dangerous. The answer might be hidden in the very first rooms we ever knew. Mothers carry more than life inside them. They carry their own wounds, their own unfinished grief. Unspoken sadness leaks through their skin, and the child absorbs it, not knowing it does not belong to them. We inherit not only their eyes or their smile, but also their silence, their loneliness, their despair. The mother's shadows do not disappear. They pass on, hidden inside us, waiting to be remembered. What the mother feels, the child's body records. Stress, fear, despair. They write themselves into biology. A heart that beats too fast. A nervous system wired for alarm. The body remembers what the mind never knew. We are born already carrying stories that are not ours, and we live them, unaware, as if they were written into our skin. Some wounds are never spoken. They remain silent, unacknowledged, yet they shape everything. The silence of the womb becomes the silence of adulthood. We learn not to cry too loudly. We learn not to need too much. We learn to stay quiet, carrying the echo of a silence that was never ours to bear. To inherit pain before birth is to begin life already carrying a weight, an invisible burden too heavy for small shoulders. We grow thinking it is normal. We confuse heaviness with who we are, but it was never ours. It was placed there long before we could say no. The wounds we inherit before birth are not always visible. They live in patterns, in the way we love, in the way we fear abandonment, in the way we repeat the same mistakes without knowing why. The body remembers. The heart remembers, even when the mind forgets. But what is inherited can also be transformed. The story does not end where it began. By noticing the wounds, by naming the silence, by carrying what was never ours back to where it belongs, we begin to break the cycle. And in that breaking, something new emerges. Not just survival, but life. Not just endurance, but freedom. Modern psychology has begun to understand what ancient wisdom always knew. The child begins learning before birth. Dr. Alice Miller's groundbreaking research revealed how children develop what she called gifted abilities. Not intellectual gifts, but premature emotional sophistication born from necessity. When a pregnant mother experiences chronic stress, fear, or trauma, her body releases hormones that cross the placental barrier. The developing child's nervous system adapts to this chemical environment, creating what researchers now call prenatal programming. The child's brain develops pathways optimized for a dangerous world, even when born into safety. This biological inheritance manifests in adults as hypervigilance, difficulty with emotional regulation, and an uncanny ability to read and manage others' emotions. These individuals often become the family's emotional regulators, therapists, peacekeepers, caretakers, roles that feel natural because they've been rehearsing since conception. The false self emerges as a protective mechanism. When authentic needs weren't safe to express prenatally, the child develops an adaptive persona designed to maintain emotional stability in others. This false self becomes so ingrained that many adults struggle to identify their genuine needs, preferences, or boundaries. Breaking this cycle requires what psychologists call conscious differentiation, learning to distinguish between inherited emotional patterns and authentic responses. It involves grieving the childhood that was lost to premature responsibility and slowly developing the capacity for genuine self-care that was never modeled or permitted.